Thank you for staying with us. Well, I didn't know that there was an International Identity Day, but I do know now because today is International Identity Day. The International ID campaign called for the recognition of September 16th, which is today, as International Identity Day in tribute to the UN Sustainable Development Goal 16.
Target 9.
16,
Target
okay,
9.
Target 9, which calls for legal identity for all by 2030. That's in 7 years' time.
Less than 7 years, actually.
The purpose of this day is to raise awareness about the important role identity plays in empowering individuals to exercise their rights and responsibilities fairly and equitably in a modern society. So, having something on you to identify you is actually very important. For instance, if you had an accident and you couldn't speak, you were so badly hit by the accident, people can look in your belongings and be able to identify who you are so that they can inform your family, your people, what has happened to you. That's just a small part, I'm sure, of what having an identity on you can do. But then what do I know? We have the former Postmaster General of the Federation, Mr. Bisi Adegbuyi, to talk to us about the importance of the International Identity Day. Good morning, Mr. Adegbuyi.
Good morning, Sister Lero. Good morning, Nadia.
We haven't seen Nigerians. You in a while.
Well, you know, I committed political suicide.
Oh, you contested?
I did that in 2007. I went into public service, acquired public sector experience, how things work there. So I'm well-rounded, activism to politics, private sector to public sector, back to private sector. The experience I garnered and acquired when I was in public sector, the government, we now can leverage on same to better the lives of our people.
Mr. Adegbuyi, by the way, is a lawyer.
Thank you. And a technology enthusiast now.
Enthusiast? Well, they say that's where the future is, so your heart is in the right place.
Thank you.
You know, yes. So International Identity Day. What is that? What's so big about identity? So I want to carry my IKEA around to show that I am this person. So
it's actually the foundation of socioeconomic development, inclusive growth, lifting people out of poverty, whether multidimensional or otherwise. Access to land, empowerment of the rural poor, financial literacy and all of that, but I'll break it down. Who are you? And where do you live? It doesn't go far enough when you say, who are you? They are Siamese twins. Who are you? That is digital identification. Where do you live? That is digital address. If you don't marry both, you are not going to achieve the desired results. So, address is a vital component of identity because it is the last mile. Let me paint a scenario for you.
Many Nigerians don't have addresses.
No, that's why. The good news is that some of us, because of the training, both local and international, I mean, Nigeria spent money on me, traveling abroad there and there. So, we're going to give addresses to Nigerians. Via technology, we have 300 billion addresses that we'll give to Nigerians, wherever they are.
What about those who live under the bridges?
No. I think there is we don't have up to 300 billion addresses in Nigeria.
I will explain to you.
Exactly. So when you said digital addresses, what does that mean?
We have broken Nigeria into 300 billion, 3 meters by 3 meters grid, each with a unique address encompassing the state, the local government, and a unique identifier. So even under the bridge.
I'm suspecting
under the bridge you have an address.
Just a second. I'm suspecting that is not number 4 Bisi Adegbuyi Street, Ikotunigbe.
So because this is Google compliant and searchable, once you input it, it will
take you to the exact spot where that person sits under the bridge.
There is address. Well, we'll get a situation where there's a pothole on your road, you take the digital address of the place and send to the government, like you hire reports, and government will see it. So let me now go into the identity and address, because they are Siamese twins. The poor people, government should do first thing. Government exists for the welfare of the people. Before you cater for a person, you need to know who the person is, isn't it? That's identification. And you also know where he or she lives. That's address. So much of the things we talk about, poverty, depends on access. Access to healthcare, access to education, access to infrastructure, financial literacy. So if you don't have a digital identity, and I don't know where you live, I'm not going to be able to plan for you. Let us take it to the subsidy palliatives. So I want to be practical. What identity can do. In the UK, because of the Russian and Ukrainian war, soaring cost of energy has compelled the government to pay money into the accounts of people to mitigate the harsh effects.
Palliatives.
Palliatives, subsidy. Give me whatever name, social program. Without a digital identification and a proof of address, in UK it is NI, and it is anchored on a proof of address. They're not going to pay to your account. In the US, it is called social security number, anchored on addresses given by United States Postal Service. In India, it is called HADA. HADA, 90% penetration in India, a country of 1.3 billion people. HADA is a functional equivalent of our national identity number. Give it to Nigeria. When NIMSI started, according to McKinsey report, it was about 20, 30, 40 penetration. But we have over 100 million people now who have enrolled under the NIN ecosystem. Do the percentage, that's about 50%, work in progress. But there is a lacuna. If you don't integrate the national identity number to a particular location and a house, it's like having a relay race. The guy who is doing the first leg has handed over to the second, the third, but you don't have the fourth. You are going to lose the race. So we are going to lose this race or war or initiative to give identity to Nigerians if we don't couple it with the Siamese twins of digital address.
Perhaps one thing that a number of people you need to help us understand is, in the first place, the whole idea of identity has been it's become traumatic for a good number of Nigerians. You remember that time when we were told to go and register by hook or by crook, and we had timelines and you had deadlines and all those things. So how do we tell people to go back, to go and champion the very same thing that traumatizes them?
It's just planning. Typical of the way Nigeria is not going to make progress if you do one size fits all. You were talking about power grid to the gentleman that just left. One of the simple solutions is to regionalize your grid. Okay? In the same way that, how can you have 4 centers in Lagos? All they needed to do was to partner with NIPOS that has locations all over Nigeria. In each state, in its local government, as the case may be, spend some money on their decrepit infrastructures, understandably so, because government has not been funding them, have been involved. I know Nigeria inside out. So if you work, I mean, I can say this publicly. I paid the former DG of NIMC 2 courtesy calls with a view to decentralizing the NIN registration thing using NIPOS location. You just train your people, train our people, put your machines in Oyo, so that the person in Oyo will go to NIPOS in Oyo. He doesn't have to come to Ibadan. The person in Ibadan, there are so many places. Yeah. So if you plan, the same thing is applicable to passports. In the Western world, you know.
The minister is taking care of that now.
So I'm happy that somebody who is knowledgeable about ICT, who is taking that up. Honorable Minister, let them decentralize. Let NIMC, NIPOS, immigration, let them work together. They shouldn't be working in silos. Okay. And then you would have different centers where all of these things can happen.
Okay. There's a lot of data that is spread everywhere.
Right.
You have a driver license.
Right.
It's data. You have banking details. It's data. Passports is data. Your children are in school, it's data. You work in an organization, it's data. Your supermarket collects your data now for all kinds, and so there is data spread all over the place. You get online to register your email address, it's data. You understand what I'm saying? And we've been talking about harmonizing these data for eons.
It's simple. Let guys who understand the dynamics, and I'm not here to patronize anybody. I watched the Honorable Minister of Interior when he said that there's nothing wrong in you having multiple identifications. But you can have what we call convergence of data. In Ghana, it is just national card. Ghana could do the national card because Ghana introduced national property and digital addressing system. So without you sorting out your addressing system, you're not going to be able to have convergence. You can have a convergence of your passport, your name, your BVN, your digital address, and then everything will be embedded in a national card. Once you put it in a system, it brings out all of this. So it depends on you which one you want to use.
Is it depending on me or depending on what the nation wants to do? Here's another thing,
depending on Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly, because we have a voter card. Right? Every voter, eligible voter,
with your national card. That's what you do in Ghana.
We're coming there.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about the national census.
Yeah.
And the Population Commission says the national census is the mother of all data.
Good.
So please help us understand how these things can come together.
So Nigeria, what we don't know about, but which we need, we try to avoid it. National MPOPs, National Population Commission, is doing a great job. But they won't go far enough if they go to different houses to count people and you don't collaborate with the private sector organization that can give the houses where you are counting people digital address. So once you do that, BVN, NIN, they're integrated. If you do national census, as you are counting people, if MPOPs partner with private sector for digital address, you have address there. So you can then have a single card that will be called national card that will take care of all of these things. But it's a process. See, United Nations Development Program said that the future of governance all over the world depends on the partnership between the public and the private sector. The public alone cannot do it. You know why? Constipated bureaucracy. It is the will of government drives slowly grindingly, frustratingly so. But if you partner with the private sector, and I can quote the president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his book, Financialism, Drawing Water from an Empty Well, he said that much, that look, the days of some social concepts are over. The future belongs to collaboration between the public sector and the private sector. The importance of digital identity. Look, Anando de Soto, a popular Peruvian development economist, said that identity and address are so important that if you don't have it, you exist out of the law, and you might as well not exist at all.
You know, I love what I'm hearing.
Even for land access, the same Anado de Soto said that most of the developing countries are poor, not because they don't have assets, but because they have dead assets, which they haven't leveraged on technology to unleash. For instance, you have a digital identity, digital address on your land. A farmer can do that as credit. Banks are not going to give you money today because they know that if you say number 3, Mawami Street to take money, the next day you are off the place.
Because you already told them to not come. But you know, when you talked about technology, I had to go back to something that I was attempting. I needed to travel to Abuja recently, and I didn't want to be swinging out any other identity card. So I was trying to get my national identity card, the digital version. This is it. I have it.
Yep.
But the challenge, yes, it is. Looks nice, right?
Okay, I don't have a card.
This is the national identity card. This is the digital identity card. But sometimes, this particular day, I couldn't bring it up. Technology
failed.
Shut down. And I always quote John Zusen, one of my broadcast mentors, says, Ayo, paper not the crash. So now, in the event that we have a kind of situation like this where we are not sure whether we'll be able to use this digital identity card all the time, what happens?
So you know that depends on a number of factors. Network failure, your location, internet penetration, but 5G is coming up.
Sorry, sir. Unless you are telling me that there is no 5G at the airports,
I wouldn't know what happened.
It must have been, my point is, it must have been a back-end fault.
It's possibly so. You know, I mean, by virtue of my training, I mean, he who affirms must prove. It may have been, yeah.
I am affirming now, and I'm proving it didn't happen.
Back-end fault. But the good news is that it's working. We're starting. And people who are knowledgeable about stuff like this are being put in, you know, a round peg into
round holes.
Round holes. The lady who has just been given the appointment as DG NIMC knows her onions. She's technology savvy.
Well,
and some of these issues can be solved. But as I've said, identity without integrating into address will not go far. Now, it would have been nice to have a card as your name, but it's expensive.
No, I get that. So my point is, I am agreeing with you that technology is the way to go. Look at it. Once I showed it at the airport that this is my
national identity,
bring out your form of identification, and I swing this out, so I'm good to go.
So we will get to a stage where we're going to marry this with your voter's card, with your name. If you have digital address that is encoded with QR code, you can begin to think about how to vote from home. Things are happening.
Okay.
And that's why I'm involved in this advocacy.
How long is all this going to take, Mr. David?
Well, I'm not government. But don't forget that.
You must have an idea.
Yeah, don't forget that when we started GSM, we started from 2G, 3G, for Edge, GPRS. Today we are
5G.
Today we are 5G. How many years down the line? So we just have to start and make sure we do it right. Otherwise, it will just be walking out in the very wrong direction.
Mr. Adegwe, you are beating about the bush. Because I know that all these things have, maybe not a rigid, but they have some kind of sell-by date. We must achieve this by.
So you're talking to a wrong person because I'm not in government.
But you are involved in this.
A private initiative.
Okay.
So there are unforeseen challenges that you would, when you are coming with a novel and revolutionary initiative. The journey of transformation is long, tortuous, and frustrating. And you just have to start.
Okay, we've started. But the Nigerian is getting tired of, you go here, you are asked for your fingerprint, and you are asked for your photograph, your this. You go to the next place again, they want your photograph, they want your fingerprint.
Let us do what they have done in Ghana. Ghana's national card, you use it for your bank, you use it for voting, you use it as your ID, you use it for traveling, because all this information are embedded there. But they couldn't have been able to do it, and I want anybody to challenge me, without the introduction of national digital and property addressing system driven by Dr. Mohamed Baumia, the vice president of Ghana, who had worked in World Bank or a technocrat. So he understands the dynamics. So we need to put guys who, the president of Nigeria, you can't take it from him. He understands the dynamics. All the issues are clear to him. If he had been allowed, when he introduced Enron, to be powered ordinarily by gas in Egbe, but they had to be powered by diesel in Ijora, and it became very expensive because the government of the day at that material time never wanted to hear anything about state government going into power. What has happened now?
Where are we now?
Okay. On there, you talked about square pegs being in square holes, but they also have to be the right sizes. Otherwise, there's going to be a problem. But communicating this initiative to people is, how easy do you think it'll be? Generally, my apologies, I'm coming there. Okay. Generally, in every, please, let's take our heads away from the studio right now and from Lagos and put it somewhere in Kafanchan, in a rural area somewhere. This fellow has no idea what this whole digital whatever we're talking about is. How do we communicate it to them?
Communicate with him in his our local dialect. The person that pioneered or revolutionized digital addressing all over the world is Chris Sheldrick. I signed a memorandum of understanding with the company when I was Postmaster General of Nigeria. Swahili, English, Hausa, and all of that.
But Mr. Adegwe,
1 second, please. So I can answer Ayo's question. The addressing initiative that I'm doing, I also come with a package and give to channels. We have videos in Yoruba, in Hausa, in Igbo, to tell people how to go about it. Gradually we will get there. It's not rocket science. If Uduma works in Kenya, if it is working in Ghana, come on, it is just because that we're not getting our priorities right. But I know one thing about Nigeria: we're always leapfrogging. Look at the robust GSM system that we're using. Look at our payment system. We started very late. Our payment system is much more robust than that of the US, for good reasons, because US will not want to do your kind of payment system because of security. Identity is crucial for security in Nigeria. Guys commit crime because of anonymity. But if you follow the path, what we are talking about, you are going to take the facial recognition of anybody whose address you want to confirm. You have identity, you have the house. People will know that. Think twice before you commit this crime, because you are going to be fished out.
But Mr. Adewe, you are talking to a people who are skeptical about everything government to start with.
Good.
Then two, there are a people who suspect you when you say you want to do census. They are suspicious of what you want to do with the information you're going to collect from them. So they don't subject themselves to you.
Add to that the political permutations. So everything is political, so to speak.
So where do we go from there? Trust is a vital ingredient of social governance. We're at ground zero. The only way we can go is up. I don't have any other country that I can go to. But when you begin to say that, I want to do this, you are doing it, Nigerians will trust you. Look at this palliative that we're talking. I'm talking to some governments that, look, you can do this better, okay? Give people, first identify the poor. Let me give you a scenario where, an example of how you can engender trust. I want to give you a palliative. I tell you, download this digital address. You download it. It has Lagos, it has local government, it has your unique number, and the palliative I want to give to you is a bag of rice, okay? Package it, put his or her digital address that you're giving to him or her, and the unique number, and get NIPOS to go and deliver to him or her. That you would have a social register that is trackable, that is auditable, and people can, on the comfort of their home. How many people have been given palliatives? Facial recognition, no two facial recognition are ever the same. So if you do that to him or her, you begin to trust that, oh, this government.
Okay, you begin to build trust.
Just a quick one. What if you said digital address, I understand, but
and
what if
put it together?
Social identity and address. What happens when you move house?
Good. Because this address will be validated. Address is geolocated. It doesn't move with you. You're going to inform the appropriate authority you are moving, okay? And the place, another place you are going to, already has an address waiting for you. Download it.
So what if I don't want you to know where I am?
Anybody who doesn't want government to know where it is dodgy.
Exactly.
And, yes. And government has a responsibility because of security. I mean, you travel abroad, or you don't want the British or American government to know where you are, and you are giving them your passport. So it is people who are dodgy that will say that I don't want government to know where I am.
But you know it can happen.
I do agree with you. But you begin to educate people. For goodness sake, do you know that addressing is the constitutional responsibility of local government? And the local government can say that, for instance, all the SIM cards issued by Airtel, by MTN, the addresses must be validated. Why are people changing SIM cards here and there? Because they procure SIM cards with fake addresses. Let me give you an example of how digital identity address is very important. I was discussing with the Nigerian ambassador to Ethiopia, and he said, oh, Mr. Adewe, this is a brilliant idea. Somebody from South Africa ingested drug and used Addis Ababa as maybe to change
Korea nation,
change airline or whatever. Unfortunately for him, he died.
Ouch.
Why do you pity him? He committed suicide. So when they searched his belongings, they saw his passport. That's a means of identification. When they went to passport office, the address there, Genje. So I'm going to call out some people. Let the Honorable Minister of Interior know that addresses for passports must not only be digital, but they must be verified and validated by going to the locals. I've been involved. Look, both private sector and public sector
running out of time
are to blame. Do you know that banks, under the KYC rule, they have responsibility to verify people's addresses. But they hardly do. They don't go to the locals. You know what? The compliance officers are making money from it. I can say this because I was Postmaster General. Anybody who wants a debate can come. We need to set agenda for government. We need to call some people out so that when people who are in the private sector are blaming government when they are doing worse things.
Okay, well.
Mr. Adegbuyi, happy International Identity Day.
Thank you.
I think, like we used to say in literary and debating in those days, I believe that with all these points, you have convinced us that an International Identity Day is necessary to our being.
Thank you, Auntie Alero.
Thank you very much, Mr. B.C. Adegbuyi, former Postmaster General of Nigeria and a legal practitioner. Thank you very much for coming to enlighten us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.